If you're new here, my name's Lucy and I make videos all about Mauritius. If not, welcome back. This week I want to talk about something that really affects you if you're living here or even if you're coming here on holiday, and that's cyclones. So generally from November through to March on Mauritius Island, that is the cyclone season, also known as the rainy season. So yep, you guessed it, it's at this time of the year when you can expect lots of rain, and quite a few storms usually come through this area too, and we call those cyclones. So it's all part and parcel. If you're living here, you're going to have to deal with high humidity, lots of rain at this time of the year, and quite possibly one of these tropical depressions or cyclones. Now, just a little disclaimer for you, I am not by any means a meteorologist. I'm just purely making this video so that I can share my experience as someone, an expat, a foreigner living here, what it's actually really like in the rainy season when you live here, and perhaps it will give you a better idea as to how to cope with this time of the year. And that's not to say that it's a terrible time of the year, because honestly it's not. I'm making it probably sound like it's awful at this time of the year. But yeah, just be aware that these are storms that one has to deal with when you live here. So here there are these classes or stages, which are called class 1 through to class 4, which are issued by the Mauritius Meteorological Services, and you'll find this directly on their website. And these warnings or these class systems are designed to give people warnings and sufficient time to get ready for a cyclone which is on its way. Now, generally these cyclone bulletins are issued around about every 6 hours. Now, there has been quite a bit of confusion about the various different classes, and I want to basically break it down in this video. I'll also give you an idea for each of these classes as to what you should be doing. So what you should be doing before a cyclone arrives, what you should be doing while there's a cyclone, and then also once a cyclone has passed. So then hopefully at the end of this video, it will all be clear as mud or something like that. Now, the first thing that you'll notice when there's a cyclone coming is generally the temperature really increases and the humidity levels are through the roof, sometimes up to sort of 90% humidity. Yeah, that's right. It gets seriously, seriously hot. So generally what happens is when there's a cyclone on its way, you can feel this sort of nervous energy. When you go to the shops, you see people scurrying around, buying lots of water, filling up their tanks of gas, and buying matches, candles, all those sorts of things. Kids are all excited because it means that they're probably likely to miss school. And yeah, you'll notice that people are just talking about a cyclone on the way. You'll go down to the beach, you'll see boats are being pulled out, and you can see people are generally making provisions for in case of severe disaster or danger. Of course, there are weather provisions which will tell you sort of weeks in advance that there could be a cyclone coming. But I personally only really tend to take notice of this about 4 or 5 days prior, because you never know, these cyclones could change course and they could land up actually not affecting the island at all. They could land up passing way away from us. So yeah, I use some apps on my phone. One of them is Windy and the other one is Ventusky, and that gives me a synoptic chart so I can actually find out what's going on and what is predicted to happen with this particular cyclone, how close to danger are we going to be on the island. The other site that is used a lot is the Mauritius Meteorological Service site. That probably is one of the better ones, and that will really give you a breakdown of what to expect, what's going on, and yeah, you can look at satellite imagery there, you can have live updates, and they will tell you all the different class systems there too. So definitely a good one to check out, Mauritius Meteorological Services.
This is insane! Look at it! Woo!
Having lived on the island now for 6 years, I've experienced quite a few cyclones. In fact, I think it's now 4 or 5. The first one was in 2018, and that for me was particularly scary because it was my first one, and I actually simply just didn't know what to expect.
So now it's raining and we're huddled under a tree like idiots.
That one was called Begita, and it passed to the southwest of the island, and it actually passed quite close. I had quite a bit of flooding in my house, and there was quite a lot of damage on the island, particularly in the Black River region. Restaurants were severely damaged, boatyards as well, and Birgitta passed about 70 kilometers south of Mauritius, so that was pretty close, and I remember being quite scared during that particular cyclone. Then in 2020 was my second cyclone, that was Calvinia, and that one was less intense than Birgitta, but again we had to stay at home. We had no power for some days, and there was quite a lot of wind and quite a lot of rain. In 2022 we witnessed Batsarai, and that one passed quite far from us, 600 kilometers I do believe northeast of the island, but unfortunately that caused extensive damage for Madagascar. In fact, quite a few people lost their lives, so yeah, that was quite a sad event.
We're in class 2 now in Mauritius. That's class 2 warning system. Class 3, everything closes down.
But for Mauritius, we just had a few days of pretty bad weather, intermittent electricity, and quite a lot of wind and rain again. Then very recently, in fact a couple of weeks ago, we witnessed Cyclone Freddy, and that one passed around 100 kilometers to the north of us. Luckily it didn't get much closer. We were quite scared. If you looked at the synoptic charts, it looked like it was going to be a really massive storm, but luckily it passed away from us. Unfortunately, again, Madagascar was hit with that one, but really on the island here in Mauritius, it was only really a day of a bit of wind and rain, so nothing too bad. So as I mentioned earlier, there are these class warnings in place just so that the general public and emergency services can get themselves together. So you'll notice that just before the warnings come into place, boats will be pulled out of the water, people will go out and stock their cupboards, their fridges, make sure that they've got basic supplies, and people will do things like bring in their outside furniture, store away any things that could be broken in the garden, do a bit of gardening, making sure that all loose trees and branches are trimmed and cut, and then also making sure that windows are properly closed, as are doors. Class 1 is issued 48 to 36 hours before 120 km/h gusts are predicted. During Class 1, schools are still open and the general economy is also still open, and it's at this stage that you need to be going to the supermarket and stocking up on supplies. Things like candles, matches, gas, so that you can cook easily at home. Water, get lots of water. Batteries, make sure that your iPads and your iPhones and all your portable devices are properly charged, and then any other things that you might like for example rice or pasta or tin foods or some gin. Class 2 is then issued to allow 12 hours of daylight before gusts of 120 km/h are expected. In Class 2, schools are closed, but the economy is still open. Again, at this point you really should have all of your supplies, and you should have moved all that furniture from outdoors, indoors, and make sure that your house is in a good condition to withstand, or as best as you can to withstand, a storm. And it's also at this point that you need to be watching out for those bulletins. Check out on Facebook, check Windy, check Ventusky, and of course the Mauritius Meteorological Services for those updates. Class 3 is then issued about 6 hours before those predicted to be around about 120 km/h gusts. During Class 3, basically the country in effect is shut down. Schools are closed, the economy is closed, all shops, restaurants, gyms, etc. are closed, and it's at this point that you are expected to be at home. All your supplies should already be with you. Pets should be safely indoors, as should your children. When there's a Class 3 warning, you pretty much know that this cyclone is going to cause quite a lot of bad weather on the island. Also, another thing, do not go driving around when it's Class 3 warning, because your car insurance will not cover you. Yes, that's right, you will have zero car insurance in Class 3, so yeah, best just stay home. Class 4, it's at this point that things are pretty serious. Here you're going to be stuck at home, and likely outside the weather's going to be very bad indeed. So you're going to have to check out those weather bulletins just to make sure when all these warning systems will be lifted. It's around about here as well that electricity will likely be going on and off. If you're lucky enough to have a generator, hopefully you would have filled it up with diesel. A bit of a tip, make sure that all expensive electronics are unplugged. Another good tip is to make sure that you have buckets of water just so that you can easily wash your hands or do the dishes, because when the power goes off in Mauritius, the pumps go off, the water pumps, because most homes in Mauritius get their water with a water pump system. So once you've prepped yourself and your family and you're all at home, then it's just basically, waiting for the storm to pass. There was actually a bit of confusion after this latest Cyclone Freddy, because normally we have class 1 to 4 in terms of warning systems, but then there was these new couple of phases that were brought in, phase 5 or phase 6. There was a circulation in French, and that's basically there upon termination. Once the cyclone has passed, it enables the security people to go out there and make sure that there are no fallen power lines, no flooding, no overturned cars, make sure that the roads are safe. So they'll usually lift this warning, but they'll say to the general public, you've got 3 or 4 hours where you've got to stay at home and just wait for these security services to go in there and make sure that everything is safe for the general public. So that is what you can expect when you're here and there is a cyclone. If you found this useful, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. A massive thank you to all my fans. We're now at 15,000 subscribers. I never in a million years dreamed that I would get to that number, so thank you very much. If you want to support the channel to keep me making these videos, don't forget to buy me a coffee. I'll leave a link down below. And that's it. I will check you on the next one. Lots of other videos on my channel to watch, so see you very soon. Take care.